Hi, hello, welcome back to i-TUTOR NCERT series. Today's class we will be discussing Class 11 Geography NCERT, India Physical Environment, Chapter 6 Soils. Soil is the most important layer of the Earth's crust. It is a valuable resource. The bulk of our food and much of our clothing is derived from land-based crops that grow in the soil. The soil on which we depend so much for our day-to-day needs have evolved over thousands of years. The various agents of weathering and gradation have acted upon the parent rock material to produce a thin layer of soil. Okay, so these are some introduction about the soil. Now, soil is the mixture of rock debris and organic materials which develop on the Earth's surface. Okay, so what is soil? Soil is the mixture of rock debris and the organic materials and which are developed on the Earth's surface. Okay, so that is soil. Soil is the mixture of rock debris and organic materials and which is developed on the Earth's surface. The major factors affecting the formation of soil are relief, parent material, climate, vegetation, and other life forms and time. Okay, so these are some of the factors which affect the formation of soil. What are the factors? First one, relief, then parent material, climate, vegetation, and other life forms, and mainly time. Besides this, human activities also influence it to a large extent. Components of the soil are mineral particles, humus, water, and air. Okay, so the factors affecting the formation of soil are relief, parent material, climate, vegetation, other life forms, and time. Now, the components of soil are mineral particles, humus, water, and air. The actual amount of each of these depend upon the type of soil. Some soils are deficient in one or more of these, while there are some others that have varied combinations. Okay, so these components, they are not same in all types of soil. Okay, they are different in deficient in one or more of these, and while there are some others have varied combinations. If we dig a pit on land and look at the soil, we find that it consists of 3 layers. Okay, so if we dig a pit and then look at the soil, then we can find 3 layers of soil. And these layers are called horizon. Okay, so these 3 layers or these layers are called horizons. Horizon A is the topmost zone. And here the organic materials have got incorporated with the mineral matter, nutrients, and water, and which are necessary for the growth of plants. Okay, so there are 3 layers and these layers are called horizons. Now, in horizon A, it is the topmost zone and where organic materials have got incorporated with the mineral matter, nutrients, and water. Now, and these things are essentially for the growth of plant. Second one is horizon B. It is the transition zone between horizon A and horizon C and contains matter derived from below as well as from above. Okay, so this layer, that is horizon B, this layer contains matter derived from below, that is horizon C, and as well as from above, from horizon A. It has some organic matter in it, although the mineral matter is noticeably weathered. Horizon C is composed of the loose parent material. Okay, so the final one is, or the third one is horizon C, and it is composed of the loose parent material. This layer is the first stage in the soil formation and it eventually forms the above 2 layers. Okay, so this layer is the first stage, that is horizon C, that is the first layer in the form of soil, first stage in the form of soil formation, and the process eventually forms the above 2 layers. Okay, now this arrangement of layer is known as the soil profile. So these 3 layers, that is horizon A, B, and C, these layers or this arrangement of layers, this is known as soil profile. Underneath these 3 horizons is the rock, which is also known as the parent rock or the bed rock. Okay, so beneath the 3 horizons, there is the rock which is known as parent rock or the bed rock. Soil, which is a complex and varied entity, has always drawn the attention of the scientist. In order to understand its importance, it is essential to attend a scientific study of the soil. Now, classification of soil. India has varied relief features, landmass, climatic regimes, and vegetation types. These have contributed in the development of various types of soil in India. In ancient times, soils used to be classified into two main groups, that is Urvara and Usara. Okay, so in ancient times there is two types of classification of soil, that is first one Urvara and next one is Usara. Now, which were fertile and sterile respectively. Okay, so the Urvara is fertile and Usara is sterile. In the 16th century AD, soils were classified on the basis of their inherent characteristics and external features such as the texture, color, slope of land and moisture content. Okay, so in 16th century there is another classification based on the external features, that is texture, color, slope of land and moisture. Now, based on the texture, main soil types were identified as sandy, clay, silty and loam. On the basis of color, they were red, yellow, black, etc. Okay, so on the basis of texture, there is sandy, clay, silty and loam, etc. These types of soils are found. And on the basis of color, mainly red, yellow and black soils were found. Now, since independence, scientific surveys of soil have been conducted by various agencies. The Soil Survey of India, established in 1956, made comprehensive studies of soil in selected areas like the Damodar Valley. Okay, so there is scientific surveys of soil have been conducted by various agencies after the independence. Now, first one is the Soil Survey of India, that is established in 1956, and it made comprehensive studies of soils in selected areas like the Damodar Valley. The National Bureau of Soil Survey and the Land Use Planning and Institute under the control of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, that is ICAR, did a lot of studies on the Indian soils. In their effort to study soil and to make it comparable at the international level, the ICAR has classified the Indian soil on the basis of their nature and character as per the United States Department of Agriculture, that is USDA, soil taxonomy. Okay, so the ICAR that classified the Indian soils on the basis of their nature and character as per the US Department of Agriculture, that agriculture soil taxonomy. Now, these classifications are: first one is alluvial soil, black soil, red and yellow soil, laterite soil, arid soils, saline soil, peaty soil, and finally forest soil. Okay, so there is 8 types of classification, that is alluvial soil, black soil, red and yellow soil, laterite soil, arid soil, saline soils, peaty soil, and finally the forest soil. So first one is alluvial soil. Alluvial soils are widespread in the northern plains and the river valleys. Okay, so these soils are found mainly in the northern plains and the river valleys. These soils cover about 40% of the total area of the country. They are depositional soils transported and deposited by rivers and streams. Okay, so these soils are depositional soils. That means they are transported and deposited by the help of rivers and streams. Though a narrow corridor in Rajasthan, they extended in the plains of Gujarat. In the peninsular region, they are found in deltas of the east coast and river valleys. Okay, so in the delta region, they are found in the east coast and in the river valleys. The alluvial soils vary in nature from sandy loam to clay. Okay, so they vary from sandy loam to clay. They are generally rich in potash but poor in phosphorus. Okay, so the alluvial soil have a rich potash content but poor in phosphorus. In the upper and middle Ganga plain, 2 different types of alluvial soils have deposited, that is Khadar and Bangar. Okay, so upper and middle Ganga plain, there is 2 types of alluvial soils. They are Khadar and Bangar. Khadar is the new alluvium and is deposited by floods annually. which enrich the soil by depositing fine silts. But at the same time, Bangar represents a system of older alluvium. Okay, Khadar is new alluvium, but Bangar is older alluvium, and they deposited away from the floodplain. Okay, so the Bangar is deposited away from the floodplain. Both the Khadar and Bangar soils contain calcareous content, so they are known as kankars. These soils are more loamy and clay in the lower and middle Ganga plain and the Brahmaputra valley. The sand content decreases from the west to east. The color of the alluvial soils vary from light grey to ash grey. Its shades depend on the depth of the deposition, the texture of the material, and the time taken for attaining maturity. Okay, so these depend the shades of the soil. That is the depth of the deposition, the texture of the material, and the time taken for attaining maturity. Alluvial soils are intensively cultivated. Okay, so that is the first types of soil, alluvial soil. They are mainly widespread seen in northern plains and the river valleys, and 40% of the total area of the country is covered by the alluvial soils. Then they are deposited soils, that means they are transported and deposited by the rivers. Then they mainly seen in the delta places and river valleys. Now they vary from sandy loam to clay, and they are rich in potash and poor in phosphorus. In upper and middle Ganga plain, there is two types of alluvial soils are found, that is Khadar and Bangar. Khadar is the new alluvium and Bangar is the older alluvium. Now Khadar is deposited by floods annually, and that is enriches the soil by depositing fine silt, but Bangar is deposited away from the floodplains. Okay. Now next one is black soil. The black soil covers most of the Deccan Plateau, which includes part of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, and some parts of Tamil Nadu. Okay, so the black soils is mainly cover the most of Deccan Plateau, including the parts of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, and some parts of Tamil Nadu. In the upper reaches of the Godavari and the Krishna and the northwestern part of the Deccan Plateau, the black soil is very deep. These soils are also known as the rigor soil or the black cotton soil. Okay, so the black soil is also known as rigor soil or the black cotton soil. The black soils are generally clay, deep and impermeable. They swell and become sticky when wet and shrink when dried. Okay, so when they wet, they become swell and sticky and shrink when they dried. During the dry season, these soil develop wide cracks. Thus, there occurs a kind of self-plowing. Okay, so at the dry season, what happened? The soil developed wide cracks, and it's a form of self-plowing. Because of this character of slow absorption and loss of moisture, the black soil retains the moisture for a very long time, which helps the crops, especially the rain-fed ones, to sustain even during the dry season. Chemically, the black soil are rich in lime, iron, magnesia, and alumina. They also contain potash, but they lack in phosphorus, nitrogen, and organic matter. The color of the soil ranges from deep black to grey. Okay, so they are rich in lime, iron, magnesia, and alumina, and also they contain potash, but they lack phosphorus, nitrogen, and some organic matters, and their color vary from deep black to grey. Okay, so that's about the black soil. Next one is red and yellow soil. Red soil develops on crystalline igneous rocks in areas of low rainfall in the eastern and southern part of the Deccan Plateau. Okay, so the red soil that develop on the crystalline igneous rocks in the areas of low rainfall in the eastern and the southern part of Deccan Plateau. Along the predominant zone of the Western Ghats, long stretches of area is occupied by red loamy soil. Yellow and red soil are also found in parts of Orissa and Chhattisgarh and the southern parts of Middle Ganga Plain. Okay, so the yellow and red soils are mainly found in the parts of Orissa, Chhattisgarh, and the southern parts of the Middle Ganga Plain. The soil develops a reddish color due to a wide diffusion of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rocks. Okay, so why the soil is seen in a red color? Because they developed a reddish color because of the wide diffusion of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rocks. Okay, because of the presence of iron content. It looks like yellow when it occurs in hydrated form. Okay, so in the hydrated forms, the soil looks like yellow color. The fine-grained red and yellow soils are normally fertile. Okay, so they are normally fertile, whereas coarse-grained soil found in dry upland areas are poor in fertility. Okay, so normally they are fertile, but in coarse-grained soil, they are found in the dry upland areas. They are poor in fertility. Now, they are generally poor in nitrogen, phosphorus and humus. Okay, so the nitrogen content, phosphorus content and the humus contents are very low in these types of soil. Next one is laterite soil. Laterite has been derived from the Latin word later, which means brick. The laterite soil develops in areas with high temperature and high rainfall. Okay, so these soils are mainly found in high temperature and high rainfall region. These are the result of intense leaching due to the tropical rains. Okay, so these soils are of the result of the intense leaching due to the tropical rains. With rain, lime and silica are leached away, and soil rich in iron oxide and aluminum compound are left behind. Humus content of the soil is removed fast by bacteria that thrives well in high temperature. Okay, so the humus content of the soil is removed by the bacteria. These soils are poor in organic matter, nitrogen, phosphate and calcium, while iron oxide and potash are in excess. Okay, so the soil lacks organic matters, nitrogen, phosphate and calcium, but at the same time it had iron oxide and potash. Hence, laterites are not suitable for cultivation. However, application of manures and fertilizers are required for making the soil fertile for cultivation. Okay, so normally these soils are very bad for cultivation, but we can use manures and fertilizers and make it fertile soil. Now, red laterite soil in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala are more suitable for tree crops like cashew nut. Okay, so the red laterite soils in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, they are more suitable for the tree crops like a cashew nut. Laterite soils are widely cut as bricks for the use in house construction. Okay, so these soils are also used for the construction of house. These soils have mainly developed in the higher areas of the peninsular plateau. The laterite soils are commonly found in Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh and the hilly areas of Orissa and Assam. Okay, next one is arid soils. Arid soils range from red to brown in color. They are generally sandy in structure and saline in nature. Okay, so what is the condition of arid soil? They are generally sandy in structure and saline in nature. In some areas, the salt content is so high that common salt is obtained by evaporating the saline water. Okay, so in some places, the salt content of the soil is very high and we can obtain salt by evaporating the saline water. Due to dry climate, high temperature and accelerated evaporation, they lack moisture and humus. Okay, so due to the dry climate, high temperature and the accelerated evaporation, they lack moisture and humus. Nitrogen is insufficient and the phosphate content is normal. Lower horizons of the soil are occupied by conker layers because of the increasing calcium content downwards. The conker layer formation in the bottom horizons restrict the infiltration of water. Okay, so the conker layer, okay, these formation in the bottom horizon, they restrict the infiltration of water, and as such, when irrigation is made available, the soil moisture is readily available for sustainable plant growth. Okay, so the soil need irrigation, well maintained irrigation. Arid soils are characteristically developed in the western Rajasthan, which exhibit characteristic and arid topography. These soils are poor and contain little humus and organic matter. Next one is saline soils. They are also known as Usra soils. Okay, so the saline soils are also known as Usra soils. Saline soils contain a large proportion of sodium, potassium and magnesium, and they are infertile. They do not support any vegetation growth. Okay, so the saline soils are also known as Usra soils, and they contain large proportions of sodium, potassium, magnesium, and they are infertile and which do not support the vegetation growth. They have more salts largely because of the dry climate and poor drainage. They occur in the arid and semi-arid regions and in waterlogged and swampy areas. Okay, so they occur in arid and semi-arid regions and in waterlogged and swampy areas. The structure ranges from sandy to loamy. Okay, so the saline soil structure ranges from sandy to loamy. They lack in nitrogen and calcium. Saline soils are more widespread in western Gujarat, deltas of the eastern coast, and the Sundarbans areas of West Bengal. Okay, so they are mainly found in the western Gujarat, deltas of the eastern coast, and the Sundarban area, that is in West Bengal. In the Rann of Kutch, the southwest monsoon brings salt particles and deposit there as a crust. Seawater intrusion in the deltas promote the occurrence of saline soil. In the areas of intense cultivation with excessive use of irrigation, especially in the areas of green revolution, the fertile alluvial soils are becoming saline. Excessive irrigation with dry climatic condition promotes capillary action, which results in the deposition of salt on the top layer of the soil. In such areas, especially in Punjab and Haryana, farmers are advised to add gypsum to solve the problem of salinity in soil. Okay, so we can use gypsum to reduce the salinity of soil. Next one is peaty soil. They are found in areas of heavy rainfall and high humidity. Okay, so the peaty soils are found in the areas of heavy rainfall and high humidity, where there is a good growth of vegetation. Okay, so they support a good growth of vegetation. Thus, large quantity of dead organic matter accumulates in these areas, and this gives a rich humus and organic content of the soil. Organic matter in these soils may go even up to 40-50%. Okay, so the organic matter of this soil may go even up to 40 to 50%. These soils are normally heavy in black in color. At many places, they are alkaline also. It occurs widely in the northern part of Bihar, southern part of Uttarakhand, and the coastal areas of West Bengal, Orissa, and Tamil Nadu. Okay, so the peaty soils are mainly found in the northern part of Bihar, southern part of Uttarakhand, and the coastal area of West Bengal, Orissa, and Tamil Nadu. Now, next one is forest soil. As the name suggests, forest soils are formed in the forest areas where sufficient rainfall is available. Okay, so this soil need sufficient rainfall. The soil vary in structure and texture depending on the mountain environment where they are formed. They are loamy and silty on the valley sides and coarse grained in the upper slopes. Okay, so the forest soils are loamy and silty in the valley sides and they are coarse grained in the upper slopes. In the snowbound area, that is in the Himalayas, they experience denudation and are acidic with the low humus content. Okay, so in the Himalayan region, these soils are acidic with the low humus content. The soil found in the lower valleys are fertile. It is evident from the foregoing discussion that soils, their texture, quantity, and nature are vital for the germination and growth of plant and vegetation, including crops. The soils are living systems. Like any other organism, they too develop and decay, get degraded, respond to proper treatment if administered in any time. These have a serious repercussion on the other components of the system, of which they themselves are important parts. Okay, so that's about the types of soil. So there is mainly 8 types of soil. They are alluvial soil, black soil, red and yellow soil, laterite soil, arid soils, saline soils, peaty soil, and finally the forest soil. Okay. Now, soil degradation. In a broad sense, soil degradation can be defined as the decline in soil fertility. Okay, so what is called soil degradation? The decline in soil fertility. Simply, it is the decline in soil fertility. When the nutritional status declines and depth of the soil goes down due to erosion and misuse. Okay, because the how the soil fertility decline because of the erosion and the misuse of soil. Soil degradation is the main factor leading to the depleting soil resource base in India. The degree of soil degradation vary from place to place according to the topography, wind velocity and the amount of rainfall. Okay, so the soil degradation vary from place to place according to the topography, wind velocity and the rainfall. Now, what is soil erosion? The destruction of the soil cover is described as soil erosion. Okay, so what is called soil erosion? The destruction of the soil cover, that is called soil erosion. The soil forming process and the erosional process of running water and wind go on simultaneously, but generally there is a balance between these two processes. The rate of removal of fine particles from the surface is the same as the rate of addition of particles to the soil. Okay, so the rate of removal of the fine particles from the surface of soil, that is same equal to the rate of addition of particles of the soil layer. Sometimes such balance is disturbed by natural or human factors that lead to a greater rate of removal of soil. Okay, so if the balance of this disturbed, then what happened? It leading to a greater rate of soil removal. Human activities too are responsible for soil erosion to a great extent. As the human population increases, the demand on the land also increases. Forest and other natural vegetation is removed for human settlements, for cultivation, for grazing animals, and for various other needs. Wind and water are powerful agents of soil erosion because of their ability to remove soil and transport it. Wind erosion is significant in arid and semi-arid regions. Okay, so the wind erosion is mainly in the arid and semi-arid regions. In regions with heavy rainfall and steep slopes, erosion by running water is more significant. Okay, so in the regions of heavy rainfall and steep slopes, the erosion is mainly caused by the running water. Water erosion, which is more serious and occurs extensively in different parts of the country, and which take place mainly in the form of sheet and gully erosion. Okay, so the water erosion mainly taken place two forms. That is, first one is sheet erosion and then gully erosion. Sheet erosion takes place on the level lands after a heavy shower and the soil removal is not easily noticeable. But it is harmful since it removes the finer and more fertile topsoil. Okay, so the sheet erosion mainly removes the finer and fertile top layer. Gully erosion is common on steep slopes. Gullies deepen with the rainfall, cut the agricultural lands into small fragments and make them unfit for cultivation. Okay, so the gully erosion makes the soil unfit for cultivation. A region with a large number of deep gullies or ravines is called badland topography. Ravines are widespread in the Chambal basin. Beside this, they are also found in the Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. Okay, so the ravines are also seen in Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. The country is losing about 8,000 hectares of land to ravines every year. Soil erosion is a serious problem for Indian agriculture and its negative effects are seen in other spheres also. Eroded materials are carried down to rivers and they lower down their carrying capacity and cause frequent floods and damage to agricultural lands. Okay, so the soil erosions are making other problems such as floods and damage to agricultural lands. Deforestation is one of the major causes of soil erosion. Plants keep soil bound in logs of roots and thus prevent erosion. They also add humus to the soil by shedding leaves and twigs. Forests have been denuded practically in most parts of the India, but their effect on soil erosions are more in hilly parts of the country. A fairly large area of arable land in the irrigated zones of India is becoming saline because of the over-irrigation. The salt lodged in the lower profiles of the soil comes up with the surface and destroys its fertility. Okay, so the over-irrigation may cause the loss of soil fertility and the soil become changed to saline in nature. The salt lodges in the lower profile soil that comes up with the surface and destroy the fertility. Chemical fertilizers in the absence of organic manure are also harmful to the soil. Unless the soil gets enough humus, chemicals harden it and reduce its fertility in the long run. So this problem is common in all the command areas of the river valley projects, which were the first beneficiaries of the Green Revolution. According to estimates, about half of the total land of India is under some degree of degradation. Every year, India loses millions of tons of soil and its nutrients to the agents of its degradation, which adversely affects our national productivity. So, it is imperative to initiate immediate steps to reclaim and conserve soil. So, now let's check what is soil conservation. If the soil erosion and exhaustion are caused by humans by corollary, they can also be prevented by humans. Okay, so the soil losses or the soil erosion can be prevented by humans. Nature has its own laws of maintaining balance. Nature offers enough opportunities for humans to develop their economy without disturbing the ecological balance. Soil conservation is a methodology to maintain the soil fertility, prevent soil erosion and exhaustion, and improve the degraded condition of the soil. Okay, so what is soil conservation? It's a methodology to maintain soil fertility, prevent soil erosion and exhaustion, then improve the degraded condition of the soil. The soil erosion is essentially aggravated by faulty practices. The first step in any rational solution is to check open cultivable land on slopes from farming. Lands with a slope gradient of 15 to 25% should not be used for cultivation. If at all the land is to be used for agriculture, terraces should carefully be made. Overgrazing and shifting cultivation in many parts of India have affected the natural cover of land and given rise to extensive erosion. Okay, so these are some other factors which cause the soil erosion, that is overgrazing, shifting cultivation. It should be regulated and controlled by educating villagers about the consequences. Contour bunding, contour terracing, regulated forestry, controlled grazing, cover cropping, mixed farming and crop rotation are some of the remedial measures which are often adopted to reduce soil erosion. Okay, so these are some of the measures which can adopt to reduce the soil erosion, that is contour bunding, contour terracing, regulated forestry, controlled grazing, cover cropping, mixed farming and crop rotation. Efforts should be made to prevent gully erosion and control their formation. Finger gullies can be eliminated by terracing. In bigger gullies, the erosive velocity of water may be reduced by constructing a series of check dams. Special attention should be made to control headward extension of gullies. This can be done by gully plugging, terracing or by planting cover vegetation. Okay, so these are some of the methods which prevent erosion. In arid and semi-arid areas, efforts should be made to protect cultivable lands from encroachment by sand dunes through developing shelter belts of trees and agroforestry. Lands not suitable for cultivation should be converted into pastures for grazing. Experiments have been made to stabilize sand dunes in western Rajasthan by the Central Arid Zone Research Institute. The Central Soil Conservation Board, set up by the Government of India, has prepared a number of plans for soil conservation in different parts of the country. These plans are based on the climatic conditions, configuration of land, and the social behavior of the people. Even these plans are fragmental in nature. Integrated land use planning, therefore, seems to be the best technique for proper soil conservation. Okay, so the integrated land use planning, that is considered as the best technique for proper soil conservation. Land should be classified according to their capacity. Land use maps should be prepared and lands should be put to right users. The final responsibility for achieving the conservation of land will rest on the people who operate on it and receive the benefits. Okay, so the final responsibility is up to the humans. Okay, that is the people who operate on it and receive the benefits. Okay, so that's about the chapter. If you have any doubts, you can comment below. For more videos, do like, share, subscribe.